Hello, everyone. As you can tell, we are on top of our scheduling this week. I am very prepared, and yeah, let the surprise edition of this week's accomplishments begin.
All right, here is the build board. Let us see what's on it today.
Everything is finished.
Wow, 8 things are finished today. This is cool. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the generalized API. I know that, oh, this has been promoted to an epic. Okay, then I'm going to just take the labels off this. Because it'll be an epic, so it'll show up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. Create the secondary node for staging. Yes, it is up. It is backfilling. We've got some challenges around selective sync timing out, but at least it's working. So
yeah, I think I have to still follow up, but I think yeah, at the moment I think the challenge is that one of the Postgres queries is timing out. I'm not sure if they've resolved that with a larger timeout or not. But yeah, it's a huge step forward. And Douglas, if you're listening, thank you so much. Craig, Devin, it's really nice to push this forward. And I just came off a customer call where I highlighted, that we are working on this, and I've never had any customer say that this is not useful to them. So remember, it is really appreciated. That's my motivational message of the day.
It's very motivational, and I see also that it's one of the deliverables, so that's another one that we can tick off. That is great. Okay, pausing the database replication. I think we've discussed this last time, and you you just put the comment on there.
Yeah, no, I think this is successful. I have to do a follow-up in actually writing the next iteration that we actually need to do in order to enable this. And I believe the consensus is to implement this behavior as a first iteration as a command line command that can be run on the secondary to disable to pause the replication of every resource, including the database.
I think that's a good first iteration to have it as a command line thing.
Yeah. Well, it's also the feasible iteration, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, great. And this has been nudged in. So these are the docs around that workaround. Great, okay.
Oh yeah, do you know if my merge requests for documentation go against the Geo merge request?
I was just asking that question before before it started. And I'm going to use this one as an example that that the engineers aren't only people contributing. So I'm going to ask them how it's generated to see, because if it's not, I've just got to figure that out.
Yeah. Because my worry, it could be good, but it could also be bad if I am counted in as part of the average, then maybe
Well, it turns out that I'm counted as part of the average, so that's going to be a challenge.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I don't remember if I moved, no, I haven't. Okay, let's remove these. And okay, next one. Creative, oh, this is done. That's nice.
Oh yeah, that must have gotten merged yesterday, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
Should have labeled it deliverable.
It's not too late.
It's true.
Okay. And able to sign out from the secondary node. I think this was one of those ones that just got fixed as soon as we found it, which is also good.
Yeah, I think I said that to Douglas yesterday. He fixed it so quickly that I didn't even have time to read what the initial problem was. So in product manager time, this never actually existed.
Okay, update the endpoint. So this was a community contribution.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, just let me add that on here as well.
Oh yeah, great. Thank you for the contribution.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
In the box mark done. Okay, so, and last one, initialization order issue with the Geo database. I didn't even see this one happen, but I see it's in S1.
This was not great. So this is already merged in and needs to be in the next minor release, and it is blocking any upgrades to Geo on 12.7.
Oh gosh.
It was not good. I think what it did here is, I'm paraphrasing now my understanding. Rails initializers are located in a folder and initialized in alphabetic order. Geo starts with a G and comes after D for database. Essentially, some ordering was changed that led to a situation where the Geo database pool size was not correctly initialized and therefore set to 1, which I think can lead to quite a few problems. And now the ordering is fixed, but that was not great. So a question that was raised is if this could have actually been caught if we had deployed this on different
on stage, even on staging.
On staging, and actually it was caught, but because you can also just change the configuration again, right? So the root cause was not recognized at the time, which is also understandable, I think.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm going to ask Douglas to just go digging as to how this happened in the first place, because I'd like to understand if this is something that if we changed the ordering of this, or if this was someone else that changed the ordering of this unintentionally. So I'm just going to put that here, that we need to find the root cause of this.
Yeah, I can speak to this. What I can speak to is that from an outsider's perspective, like alphabetic ordering of like 70 different files that are then prefixed with like 0 underscore something to be loaded first, that feels like a system that, at the scale can be quite brittle, right? Because you have to remember that there is some ordering which is sort of implicit, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, I can't remember the exact specifics around around how the initialization stuff works, but the whole way that Ruby and Ruby on Rails works is about convention, and it's just about following the convention that exists inside of the language, and that's just expected that if you're working inside of the language, you understand what the conventions are. And that means that people don't generally forget about stuff like ordering if that's how it works, because it would just be a convention. But I do think it's important to try and figure out what the root cause of this is, because so if you say this, if upgrading from 12.7, we're not going to have to backport anything. This is just in the 12.8 release. I don't know, it's been taken to 12.7.
12.7 full or whatever.
Okay.
I have already put a warning message in, an upgrade warning, into the documentation. Yeah, that's, I think, all I can do, really.
Okay, well, I'll ask Douglas to just go digging for how this happened in the first place. Yeah, just find some more information there. Okay. Right, well, that's all the closed column. Let me just refresh that. And I'll just take this label off here because it's no longer active.
Yeah, but I mean, these things in general obviously are not great, right? And they happen, but I think we need to, think about how we can ensure that we find these things earlier, right? And then that they don't make it into the release.
Yeah. Okay, so first one here in review is the single source of truth. I know when I logged off on Wednesday, this was with Tone for review. So let's have a quick look and see if there's been any further movement on the review side. So he has said something in a related issue here.
Yeah, I don't understand where this is at this moment.
I'm wondering if they've had some conversation offline that hasn't made it onto the issue for that to have suddenly become one of those.
Is there an update on the issue itself?
Let me ask here.
Because this has been hanging around for a while now, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we can close it out, I think that would be pretty good.
Mm. I'm gonna phrase it like next one. Improve the reference counters in review. Oh, this was on the hash storage. We found that there was a problem with the way that the reference counters worked on some of the projects, and because it was a fairly small change to make, Gabriel did it.
Okay.
But I see there is a challenge around adding methods that are not used from anywhere. So I'll leave that with up for discussion, but at least that's in review and moving forward. Okay, create in blocked. That is, we're waiting for the LFS Fork network piece.
I think we should maybe talk about that separately, but
is that still happen? And what are the reason I'm opening this and having a look? I'm just checking that that's still happening. I'm just trying to find a related issue. There it is. Is that still happening for 12.8 is what I'm looking for?
I believe so.
Okay.
But I think this is really important that it actually gets done. Some folks depend on this. And so I think we should really make sure that it actually happens. And it's not only the initial issue. We are depending on the backfill, right, for existing forks. And so that's some work, and I think we need to really make sure that we push this one through. I'll give you a little bit more context later on, but it's really important.
Okay. This one was waiting on the other one that's been closed now, so I wonder if this can be unblocked.
Yep, this is unblocked. Blocked behind something that's closed, so.
Yeah. Back to
it seems broken. Can you just type ready for development?
Yeah.
No, as in, does it not find the label at all anymore? That feels like a bug.
If I do ready, I can't put a space. Oh, maybe if I do. No.
I mean, it just doesn't do the autocomplete correctly, right? That feels like a bug.
And that's not going to work either, so okay.
Okay, something to file after the call.
Can I just not spell today or work? Flow. There we go, ready for development. Okay.
Cool.
All right, those are the two blocked items. I'm just going to refresh here and then we can look at in dev.
One is unblocked.
Yeah.
It maketh me happy.
Did you say maketh me happy or makes me happy?
Maketh.
Maketh.
You know, my...
Okay, we're still waiting for this.
I think there was a week of time to update it. There was no update. I would say at this moment it's acceptable to move it out of workflow in dev.
Yeah. Okay. The POC for maintenance mode.
Yeah, that was picked up, I think, yesterday, and there's some updates on what this would actually entail.
Okay, that's
Which
nice.
I think, like, I haven't gotten to actually replying yet, but this is exactly the kind of activity that I would like to see, because we don't quite know how it would work, right? But having somebody actually investigate it a little bit, and then maybe after, let's say, a couple of days or maybe more, come to a conclusion that, okay, these are all the things that we would need to do. It is feasible, but it would take a longer time. I think is much better than just saying, let's do it, give it an arbitrary weight.
Yeah, and then find out that it's bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
great. Okay, decide on the replicable DSL. So this was a discussion that I think is a bit paused after the self-service framework, but I think that we can, because that self-service framework stuff's moving on. I'm just going to ask for Mike's comments on this.
yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because like a week ago or whenever, I think we were both asked, should we close this out or not, or like should we do? I think nothing really has moved on. So maybe the state has changed quite considerably in that week.
Yeah. Just could you take a look at this and some okay, perform a planned failover during Geo HA. He is back on Monday and we can figure that out. The spike for the self-service framework with package files, there's probably quite a lot of movement on this and I want to just know where things have gotten to. So I've got quite a lot of reading to do.
Yeah, I think what would help me here, like I think there is a planning YouTube recording, but I think...
So, are you talking about the one from last night?
Yeah, was that about the API though?
That was talking about how the front end fits with this. So we need to create some kind of, there needs to be a way to surface the information from the back end side to the front end side, and there's generally that's done with an API. And Zach had some ideas on how to make that happen. But because this is the first implementation, I think that Mike and Zach were just talking together about how to affect that, but I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I see that Myra is looking at this, which means this is in maintainer review now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How is this?
So that means, and I see that Mike's last comment is 7 hours ago. So
it's unacceptable, like 7 hours ago,
But that means that early next week, this is going to be merged. So that's fantastic.
Okay, I think that's fantastic. I think what I would really benefit from, very selfishly, is I can't understand everything that's happening here, unfortunately. So I think when we get close to merging this, I would really benefit from like a a description on a high level is like, this is what we've accomplished, right? This is where we are at right now. These are the next steps, right? So that we can also schedule appropriately, right? I will read this, but I think like, at least for me, it's hard to sort of grasp in its entirety, you know, without all the like context where we are at. I know we've gone really far, but I just want to know, you know, what the sentiment, right? Maybe even something like, hey, this actually worked out really well and we're very pleased, or this was a week of pain and Mike is ready to go on a month of vacation.
Sure. Okay. I'm just reading this again. I think Douglas was doing the maintainer review and Myra's doing the database review. So this is both maintainers are putting this forward. So yeah, just a few minor things left here. But yes, I will ask.
Very exciting, actually.
Yeah, but I will ask for a summary on this, just so that there's like a concise version of what needs to happen next.
Well,
because I also wanted, we also just need to know from Michael which issues can be worked on next now.
Yes. Well, it's also expectation management towards your PM. You know, I get very excited by these things. And that enthusiasm may result in, you know.
Yeah. So. Okay. For this one, following our conversation on Tuesday, I now have what I need to do next. I need to put that in a draft and share it with you, and I'm planning to do that hopefully today or Monday.
That sounds good. I'd be happy to do this and help. And I've also had a conversation with Josh recently, you know, where he's also interested in just understanding, it's like for like after staging, you know, what are the next steps.
Yeah, and I think also, that we're going to have questions about it that come up in the group conversation on the 10th of February. So it'll be good to at least have all of our thoughts captured and put forward for what happens next, because yeah, those questions are going to start getting asked now.
Yep.
Yeah. The next one, the HA installation upgrade. And this was successful. Oh, brilliant. This must have happened yesterday.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Oh, cool. Okay. So is there anything else that needs to be done on it?
Let me have a look. Open new issues and inform. I think this can be closed, right?
Yeah, I think this can be closed.
Yeah.
Can I just close it straight away, or do you want me to move it? Yeah,
just close it. No, I think that's.
And I'll just take off active.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And now we can repeat this. So
for the next round.
For the next round. Yeah, I mean, we're on 12.7 now, right? And I would like to do this once a month, right? And, you know, just to make sure that, you know, all of the things here happen. I really enjoy, by the way, on some level, this checklisting. I actually think checklists are really powerful, like low tech tools to ensure certain things actually happen.
Yeah.
And so.
No, I know, because it's something we do so often, it just makes sure that nothing gets missed. Because if you do a process enough, it becomes muscle memory. But it's also really easy to then just completely skip a step, because you're remembering it that you did it from the last time you actually did it.
Yep.
So, that's great. Okay, rewriting a form in Vue. How is this one going on? Okay, so still working on converting it to Vue in the first place. Oh no, that's on the backlog.
I do think though, as a general remark, just looking at Zach's issues, he's doing a really good job at trying to break things into individual merge requests. I often see there are quite a few individual merge requests. So I don't know if it would make more sense to have smaller issues, right? But I like whatever works. I like that it's being broken down on some level to make it easier to deal with.
So I'll chat to him about it. I think making issues that are too small might prove a challenge in their own right, but I'll chat to him about it and we can see.
Like I think actually this may be perfectly fine, right? I'm actually, there's not a criticism, it's more a, I think it's good.
Comment. Okay. All right, that concludes my part of this call. So I shall stop my screen share.
Yep. Oh, now it's my turn, right? I need to do something. Yes, let me close things that I don't want to share. No. Yeah, when I said I was unprepared, right? I meant it.
You didn't even have the screen open.
No. Okay. I like that the in development column has shrunk from last week.
Yes, and the review column as well.
Yes, so
yeah,
that's good. Okay, so like demo installing the Helm chart, I think there are questions here as to, you know, what the next steps are. I leave it in here, but I'll move it down because it's, I think, not the most important thing to work on next. This here is the next step to do with our replicable, our self-service framework. So I think we should leave that in. It hasn't been picked up yet. Yeah, this here is something that was blocked and can be up by Zach, picked up by Zach, so that's fine. The avatar discussion, I see occasional updates in here, so I wonder if it actually isn't, like if it isn't actually in development.
I think it is actually in development. I think we moved it back out of development when we were waiting on something for the customer. Okay. But Tone chatted to Valeri for some ideas on how to recreate it, and I think Valeri's given him some suggestions, but I haven't checked on what happened yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. End-to-end test, improve end-to-end testing of LFS objects. I think this remains important.
So I have a question. I don't doubt that this remains important, and you're probably going to tell me something about the context of this later on. I think what we actually should do is that you and myself and Jenny should have a conversation about her backlog at the moment. Yes. Because I need her to start thinking about the self-service framework and how the testing for that should look. Because I want the testing to be something that's considered as part of the package file work. Yeah. And we need to then figure out how her priorities lie between this and that.
Yeah, so, I think that is a fair point. I think maybe we can just make a note in the in our Geo discussions.
Yeah. Yeah, summary. Where should I put it? Just if you could put it over here, then I'll
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll leave it in there. And that's fine. Okay. I like the little add release dates to current limitations table. I think I'm happy to get that done. These three things here, so the 1.3 enable selective sync chart, I think that is actually...
It's actually in development.
In dev, it's just mislabeled.
Yeah.
I shall clean it up. Okay, so we have some things here, and then we have the two things that I pulled in, which are the Postgres 11 upgrade procedure for geo installations and verify geo installation with Postgres 11. As far as I know, these are unblocked. They were dependent on shipping Postgres 11 in a release, so
which
this
is
should
now closed. Yeah,
which is now closed. So we should most certainly move this into ready for development now.
Yeah, so let's pull those over.
Yeah, because
so, a question I have is, are those more or less important than the Helm chart demo?
They're more important.
Then let's just pull that Helm chart demo down.
And because these are, as far as I understand, we're a little bit on a time, like a time schedule here with the like Postgres 11 release. So this should be something that we test.
Can you remind me of when the Postgres 11 release is?
It's the 13th. It's 13.0. So we're on 12.7. 12.8 is in March.
Yeah.
April, May. Do we do 11 and 12?
It's different. It was different last year. I don't know if we're doing it again this year.
Yeah. So let's say 3 to 5 months, right? So,
okay.
Let me just GitLab releases 13.0. I think it's in May or June. I'll get it in a second. 12.7. Yeah. 18. 9. 10. Yeah, it's on the 22nd of May.
Okay.
Okay. And then I have one last thing, which is the failing wiki issue, which I unfortunately think we just have to take.
Yeah, I think they should just be pulled over and put in at the top of the pile.
Yeah.
I think if we put it at the bottom of the pile, it's never going to get done.
Oops, definitely not ready for review. Okay.
And in terms of do we have to give it a priority and a severity, or could we just leave it as bug for now?
I mean, we should give it a priority and the severity. Okay. I'll give it a P2 S2.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, it's
if someone were relying on this to restore, if someone had a problem and they were restoring from backup and they had nothing else,
I think
they would have their data, but they can't use it.
Yeah. So it's actually a severity 1, if we think about it.
Well, no, a severity 1 would be they've lost their data and it's gone forever. So I would say it would be an S2.
Okay.
Because they still have the data. I think we should preserve the severity of 1 for the data is destroyed or corrupted, like the data is unusable. Yeah.
Well, we don't know that yet, right?
Yeah. So 2 is fine.
Okay. Let's just keep it at that.
All right. Okay.
Okay. I think that is plenty.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. That concludes, I think, this portion. I'll give some high-level updates on other activities. I'll stop sharing just for the sake of it. Sinjing has done some work on the maintenance mode design, which is great. So we have some initial high-fidelity designs for how this could look like. So we're a little bit ahead of the game with the maintenance mode, but we're doing the POC now, so that's great. We've also done a little bit of work together on the UX scorecard for monitoring, sort of for systems administrators in the administrator panel, right? And had a chat about that, which I think was pretty good. We should, by the way, record them from now on so that everybody else can see them. And we've kicked off, or Xinjing has kicked off the sketching competition, which needs participants. I will highlight that again.
Doing mine today.
Yeah, because it would be really nice to get some work done on the administrator interface, sort of the higher level activities. And then I've already opened a research proposal for the, like interviews to do in interviewing systems administrators. I've mentioned this already to a couple of customers. And so far, all the systems administrators I've talked to have signaled that they would be willing to help. So that's good. That's an update. We also had a discussion on Postgres HA and the next steps there. I still have to write that epic, as in a high availability configuration of Postgres on the Geo secondary. We had a chat about that on Wednesday. So I'll make sure to add some planning, like epic work there. And then finally, I just have to write up the issue for the first iteration on the pausing and resuming replication, which should be ready by the next scheduling call, and that could actually be picked up relatively soon. And that is more or less it from me. I think, as in you and I, Rachel, we should discuss a potential feature that we may need to consider, which has to do with like selective sync and proxying and some of the, like, how a secondary actually behaves. We can do that because that, I think, will become important. And that's kind of all from me at the moment on the planning, from the planning side. Yeah, Xinjing, from your end.
So I found the UX bug. It's actually not a bug, but the pattern is not right. So I was writing the issue to switch the alerts to toast, because it should be consistent for everywhere. So I think I can assign myself and then design a little bit and assign to Zach later. And also for the maintenance modes, as Fabian mentioned already, so it's ready. So what we need is to starting the design review session asynchronously. So I think I should also open another issue for this by the end of today.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and then also Josh noticed inconsistencies in how we display, like, the license, right? And wanted us to investigate it, and we were ahead of the game and are already implementing it right now. So a very rare occurrence, but that felt really good.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think we have plenty to do. We are not running out of work.
No, and I think this has been a good catch up. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. But if you wouldn't mind just hanging on the line afterwards, that'd be great.
Sure.
Cool.